Buying a car in your 20s can either set you back years financially or be the right move at the right time. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you a clear answer on whether you should buy a car or if it's a mistake for where you're at right now. You're watching Life with Jay, and without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm going to be breaking this video down into 4 separate categories. The 4 categories include wants versus needs, financial flexibility, opportunity costs, and then at the end I kind of want to talk about some personal experiences that I can go over with you guys. I know the first category, wants versus needs, sounds very, very basic, and everyone probably should know what this means, but at the same time I think it's very fundamental and I want to go over it. And given the topic that we're talking about, I think that wants versus needs could mean something different to you. So I just kind of want to go over this real quick and just give you a more clear understanding. So we all should know that a need is something that directly supports your life and income. A want is something that looks good, feels good, or boosts your image, but isn't really required for you to function or make money. If we're turning this into car terms, it's a need if you cannot get to work reliably, make money, or live day to day without it. It's a want if you could get by without one, but you want the comfort, maybe the status, or maybe even the freedom that it gives you. So I want you to ask yourself real quick, which one of these categories do you actually fall under? Is it a need because it's going to help you progress in everyday life? Or is it more of a want, you don't really need it to survive your day to day? I know I said that the last category is me talking about my personal experiences, but I also kind of want to talk about them throughout this video. So I want to give you guys a personal example of when I was younger and I didn't really follow the wants versus needs. So when I was 19, I was living with my parents. I basically had no money at all. At the time, I was driving my mom's car, and I also had to share this car with my sisters as well. This obviously wasn't super ideal for me, as I didn't like sharing the car, because if I wanted to go somewhere or if I had to go to work or something like that, then I obviously had to see who was using the car first. And if no one was using the car, then great, I can take the car. I think at the time too, I was just going into college, and I think I was also working a part-time job. So I didn't really have a lot of income coming in. In this situation, I definitely think the car was more of a need than a want, because I had to get to school, I had to get to work as well. But at the same time, I had a car that was accessible to me. I remember getting my tax return at this point, and I roughly got around $5,000 back. And with that $5,000, for whatever reason, I decided to buy a 2009 BMW 328. It was a very cool car. It was blacked out and it had tinted windows. And obviously, as a young guy, I fell in love with the car. Not only that, but the car was super attainable for me because my best friend was selling it. Buying this BMW led to many problems. I had the car for about 3 years, and I think by the end of that time, I probably put around at least $10,000 into the car. And that $10,000 was just towards fixing the car. That doesn't include gas, that doesn't include insurance, or the car payments towards my friend that we originally made up. Buying this car was probably the worst financial decision I had ever made. Insurance was more expensive because it was a BMW, and it also took premium gas, which also added up in the end. I remember having problems with this car almost every single month. I remember it even got to a point where I was stressing every single time that I had to get in my car and drive it. And the reason for that stress is because the car was super unreliable. So not only did I mess up by just jumping the gun and buying a BMW for my first car, but I also bought a used beat up BMW that needed a lot of work to it. Needless to say, this car ate my income. Luckily, I bought it when I was living with my parents, but that didn't last long. A few months after I bought the car, I ended up going to college, like I said, and I also moved out. Well, actually, I got kicked out of my house, but that's a story for another day. Regardless, at this point, I had more expenses to pay for. I had school to pay for, and I also had rent to pay for. Wrapping this BMW story up, I eventually sold the car for a complete loss. I think I only sold it for around $2,000. And not only that, while I was driving the car for those 3 years, I could barely save any money whatsoever. It was a very poor financial decision that I do not want you to make. Moving on to category number 2, financial flexibility. If you've discovered that buying a car is a need for you, then there are some other important things to think about. Number 1 being budget and affordability. Just because you need a car does not mean that you need to buy a fancy car or something super bougie to impress your friends with. Having that type of car is not a need. The number 1 thing that you should think about when buying a car is budget and affordability. If I could go back, I would not buy that BMW. I would have bought a more reliable car, something like a used Honda Civic. that also needs cheaper parts in case something goes wrong for it. You need to account for all the expenses that you have right now and possibly even a few months, maybe even a year into the future. Like I said before, I moved out a few months after getting my car and that completely sunk me. When you're going over your budget and affordability, make sure that you account for the car's insurance, the car's maintenance, the gas, possibly the payments, depending on which car you buy. Not only that, but if you end up buying a new car, make sure you know what the interest rate is. Do I recommend buying a brand new car? Not necessarily, but there are pros and there are cons to it. If you do buy a brand new car, another thing to think about is whether you want to finance the car or lease the car. If you don't know what those terms mean, finance means by the time you have finished paying off your car, you now own the car. It is an asset to you. If you're leasing a car, which is typically cheaper than financing the car, by the time that you're done with it, you don't get to own the car. Although there are different situations that come down to this, I'm not going to get too into depth about it. If you want to know more about that, I definitely suggest searching it up. Wrapping this category up, make sure you focus on your budget. What are your expenses? Are you living out of the house? Are you in school? There's so much to account for when creating a budget for your car if you end up buying one. Remember to account for everything, which includes insurance, maintenance, gas, the interest rate, and whether you're financing or leasing it. Make sure you don't do what I did. I bought a car, and by the end of every single month, I basically had no money at all. I was living paycheck to paycheck, which was very uncomfortable, and I couldn't save for anything else. And this leads us into the next category, which is opportunity cost. If you've realized that you don't need a car right at this moment, then think about what you could be doing with that money that you would be using towards a car, but now you have in your pocket. If I could go back, then I know what I would do. I would try to invest every single penny I have. I would have loved to start at a younger age and really see that compound interest build up over time. Or maybe for you, it's saving something bigger like a house. If you can live your day-to-day life without owning a car, then figure out what you can be doing with that money that you have now. I want to go over some mistakes that I have made and what I would do differently. Hopefully you can take this advice and turn it into some learning lessons for you. Number one, what we talked about was the bad BMW purchase, but if I could go back, I would definitely not make this financial decision again because it really put me in the hole. Buying the car did not allow me to save or invest my money, which I would have loved doing back then. If anything, it put me in a financial hole that was very hard to get out of for me, especially at the time where I was only working a part-time job and I had all these other expenses to pay for. It's hard to say what I would have done differently because given the situation, I did basically get kicked out of my house and it's not like I had access to my parents' car anymore. So either way, I probably would have had to end up buying a car or I could have taken public transit. Given the fact that I was in school and also had to work a job at the same time, public transit would have been tough for me, not saying that I couldn't have done it, but it would have been very hard to go back and forth. For me, I would have bought a car. The only thing that I would change is probably buying a different car. Now, you may be asking yourself, Jay, didn't you say that you only had the car for 3 years? So what are you driving now? That's a great question because 2 years ago, I decided to buy a 2021 Honda Civic that only had 55,000 kilometers on it, and I ended up financing this car. This leads me to my second mistake that I made. Given the circumstance of my BMW always breaking down and having to repair it and putting a bunch of money into it, I decided that I did not want to buy another beat up car. I wanted to buy something new so I didn't have to stress about my car breaking down every other week. I ended up buying a Honda Civic, which roughly cost me around $32,000. Now here's the mistake I made. I only put a down payment of $1,000 on the car, which technically means I would still have $31,000 to pay off for the car. I decided to finance the car and agree to a 7-year term. What this means is I would have to pay off the car within the next 7 years. Okay, so why was this a mistake? It was a mistake because at the time I had no idea what an interest rate even was. I found out that my interest rate on the car was 8%. Originally thinking that the car cost me $32,000, it actually ended up costing me $47,000. And keep in mind that's just for the car payments. I also have to pay car insurance, I have to pay for gas, and I also have to pay for any maintenance that the car may need. Let me tell you, this definitely adds up. And this is probably why so many people say don't buy a car in your 20s. But to be 100% honest with you, if I could go back, I don't think I would stop myself from buying almost a brand new car. So far, this car has been so good to me, knock on wood. It has been super reliable, which is exactly what I wanted in the first place. Since buying this car, I have no problem getting in it every single day and not stressing about whether or not something's going to go wrong. So the return on investment for me is being stress-free. Although if I could go back, I don't think I would put $1,000 down payment on it. I would try to put a higher down payment on it so that the terms would be shorter instead of 7 years, maybe something among the lines of 5 years or possibly even 3. The quicker you pay off that car, the less interest you're going to have to pay on it. So what am I doing now? To minimize the interest amounts that I technically would be paying, I am now putting monthly lump sum payments into the car. I've been trying to put in at least $1,000 on top of the car payments, which I originally had, which were roughly $500 a month. So in total, I would roughly be paying $1,500 per month. Now, wrapping this video up, the answer to should you buy a car in your 20s, I think the answer is different for everybody. It really depends on the situation that you're in. But I 100% think you need to account for the categories that we've went over today. A need versus a want being the most important factor. Do you have access to a car? Do you have access to public transit? Do you have other expenses that you need to be paying for? There are so many things to think about when buying a car or not. What else could you be doing with that money? In 5 years, if you invested that money instead of putting it towards a car, how much money could you have now? If you need a car now, look how much money you can put towards a down payment of the car to erase that interest amount that you would technically owe if you financed a car like me. Given the situation that I was in, if I could go back, I would probably do something very similar. Thinking back to it, I have no idea how I even got by. I had so many expenses to pay for. Buying a BMW was the worst financial decision I probably ever made so far. We are only human. We all make mistakes. The best thing that you can do is learn from them. Make sure to leave a comment below and let me know which decision that you are more so leaning towards. As well, if you have any questions, feel free to ask and I will definitely respond to your comment. I hope that this video gave you a better understanding whether or not you should buy a car in your 20s. My last piece of advice would be to sit down with yourself or maybe even a family member and write down the pros and cons of having a car. As always, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one.